I want some cheese.
Puppet Master is a movie series made by Full Moon Studios in the year 1989. The movie was part of the killer doll genre and which is often lumped in with things like Child's Play and Annabelle, if you know what that is. Now, you're probably wondering why I brought this up, unless you read the title or saw the thumbnail. Because not only does this series have 14 to 15 movies, depending on who you ask, but a game released this year called Puppet Master: The Game. Not a very creative name, but who cares? The development was going all the way back into 2012, as a matter of fact, and hell, even then it was like not very finished back in 2012. But hey, the game got released this year, and even though its main draw is multiplayer, the servers aren't very active. And so the main crux of this will be single player mode, where you have to collect Toulon's notes by doing a set of tasks. Tasks are generally the same between the two maps that are currently out as of this review. So what you have to do is destroy 10 Raven statues, destroy a totem pyramid, or whatever it's called, and also kill an agent, after which you return to your box and finish the game in this, level. Now, if you're like me and enjoy B-movies, you might recognize the name Full Moon, because they make a lot, and I mean a lot, of B-movies. Most specific, you might know them for Puppet Master, but they also made The Ginger Dead Man, Evil Bong, you name it, they've probably done it. But Puppet Master is their most popular series. Now that I've explained what the hell a Puppet Master is, let's go over, each puppet. Blade is the most popular one, and you're probably likely to play them, as they are the poster boy of the series and very much the more infamous characters one of the more infamous characters that you're likely to play as. They're pretty decent. Decent jump, decent attacks, abilities, and all that stuff. Oh yeah, the gameplay. Should probably mention that. I already did, but you get the idea. But each character you play as does have special abilities. Depending on who you play as, you'll end up playing with different abilities, and likewise, you'll end up with specific ideas of how to attack and defend yourself. Blade is the most simple, and you can attack with a knife on one hand and a hook on the other. And in the same area as Blade, you have Leech Woman, which is quite similar to Blade, but their special ability is leech related. You can spit out leeches, and the leeches slowly drain health. This isn't the first character to do this, and it won't be the last character to do this either. It is the first character to do this, but it won't be the last, that's what I meant. But it's relatively a simple character that does simple little things. Torch will be the next I cover, and just due to the fact that in the same row as Blade, not as Blade, but as Torch is the most overpowered character in single player, and of the whole game. Torch is, like their name described, and basically a character that uses fire. And that fire does drain health. So I wasn't lying about Leech Woman being the only one to kind of have this ability to just, drain health. The fire stays for a bit, but then slowly does decrease and eventually go away on a player. Or not a player, but rather the enemies, which can be agents or other players, assuming you're on multiplayer mode. Six Shooter is the other ranged character, as they basically are a six-handed sheriff, or as I like to call them, a Shider. They basically have 6 shots and have to reload after once in a while. Jester is the fastest character and does have 3 main attacks. Those being a lasso, not a lasso, but their 3 main weapons are a knife, some darts, and a needle, which I can't seem to use for some reason. Now, Pinhead is the quote-unquote strongest character in the main movie series. And in this movie, and in the game, actually, they are relatively not the best. In fact, they're actually quite bad. Their charge attack does do, like, mean damage, but it's hard to get an attack off when the puppets are very easy to, like, kick. And I'll say, and here's the most overpowered character in the game, or as I like to call them, a supersonic, due to one main reason. You see, in the game Sonic R, after 100% of the game, getting all the Chaos Emeralds and doing all that fun shit, you end up getting an extra level and a new character. And this character is Supersonic. And Supersonic was the most broken thing anyone could play as. If you 100% in that game, you and your friends either had to make a rule or fight over Supersonic, just because you knew that Supersonic was that easy ticket. And now that you know what I mean by a Supersonic, Tunneler is the most overpowered character in the game, and everyone who plays the game knows this. That drill on their head is basically an insta-kill, at least for the AI, and I'll get to that in a second. But the insta-kill of this little drill is easy to just simply get. In fact, Tunneler is constantly being told by the devs to nerf, even though the devs haven't yet. But they are working on balancing features in the future, so we'll see. Now, as puppets, you can enter these little things called vents, which are basically your safe point and allow you to travel around the map in a relatively quick way. And in which, to get into the vents, you either have to use your weapons, which can be anything for that matter, or just a simple little vent grate that's already broken. You can either break vent grates or not break them, and just, it's relatively easy. And in these vents, you can find little rooms that your puppet can get into with health pickups. At least on the map floor 5. There are 2 maps. I don't know what happened to floor 1 through 4, but there's only a floor 5 and an attic. And health pickups recharge your health. No matter how long it takes for your puppet, humans can recharge themselves health-wise, while the puppets, they kinda can't. So they have to rely on health. And health is a green goo, which is relatively similar to the stuff that allows a puppet to gain the ability to move around in the main series. As a human soul in the Puppet Master series is literally a green goo that you can inject into a puppet, and it brings them to life. Now, there are a bit of issues with the game. Characters that are overpowered, like Tunneler, are very annoying, where people would just be like, hey, you gotta nerf the Tunneler character. And a lot of people say this, especially in the Steam community tab, as Steam is where the game is most popular. As for everything else, like the control, the game does control fine. The main issue I have with the movement is the jump button, as you have to hold down the spacebar to charge a jump. And it's kind of annoying because, like, there's like a lot of things you could do. There's like a lot of items that you have to like jump to in the game. And jumping to them is not always easy, considering you're playing as characters that are basically a foot tall. And what ends up happening is, if you don't have a character with a good enough jump, you end up getting stuck in certain areas. Especially if you don't know that your jump is a charged thing. So it would lead to things like certain Raven statues basically being impossible to get unless you switch your character to Torch or Jester, a character with a better jump, basically. Jester, like I said, is the fastest character, and they also have the highest jump, while their ability to hide around a map is relatively low, so it leads to the best kind of scenario where you can get certain items relatively easily. But then again, this is single player mode, and the main draw is multiplayer. And in this multiplayer mode, I was able to play a bit. And yeah, it's like you'd expect. Except a bit different. You can choose between 3 humans or the 7 puppets, as mentioned prior. I won't mention the humans, even though I did play a bit of the multiplayer. I'll get into it later. But most of the time I was just playing as the puppets, because I was used to it, and yeah. The game mode that is currently available is called... I forgot what it's called. Target, I think? I don't remember. But the game mode that's currently available is a 3v1 where there's a human trying to steal like artifacts relating to Toulon, which is the person who brought the puppets to life. Sorry, I have a bit of a stutter. And what ends up happening is you have to kill the person before they can steal the artifacts as the puppet. And you know, it does lead to funny moments when when you get kicked by the person, you do ragdoll. And what ends up happening is the puppet like ragdolls, and you have to like get up and then like after like a few seconds you get up, right? But like the goofiness of multiplayer isn't usually available due to the you know, all that stuff. Let's just say that the movies are relatively decent. There are like 26 puppets to use, even though some might not be included due to, let's just say, the remake. Okay, yeah, we gotta talk about the remake. So, the remake movie, Puppet Master: The Littlest Reich, is an abomination against God, especially if you're a fan of the series. As I've watched a bit of Puppet Master, you would know that the movie is very much anti-Nazi. Now, the directors ended up messing this up and accidentally made the puppets pro-Nazi. And what ends up happening is you end up having a bunch of miniature people walking around, killing people, and you end up with what is one of the worst movies ever brought to the silver screen. Just stick to the main franchise. Literally the only saving grace of that movie is the fact that there's a villain, not a villain, but there's like a bunch of memeable characters, like there's like an amphibian I jokingly nicknamed Joker Frog, and there's like another puppet called Mr. Pumper. I'm not gonna get into it here because the remake is not really good. It has like a 5 on... It's like one of the lower ones of the series, and there was going to be a sequel, however, you know, that got cancelled because the directors didn't know what to do. And the sequel, Arians Ahoy, never came out. But like, back to the game now. There are like 3 humans that you can play as, and even though there aren't a lot of humans, you know, they are relatively similar enough to each other. Dana being the fastest human out of all of them. It's relatively simple. Yeah, there's a lot of humans in the Puppet Master series that aren't just Toulon, so more human characters than puppets in the series would lead to more human characters likely being included. Now, I wasn't able to get my hands on an actual full game, like I said. I was only able to play single player for the longest time. However, one of my good friends, quote-unquote, decided, hey, I'll download the game with you. So we played together, and yeah, humans do have an advantage. Puppet damage is decreased, and making the game a lot more fair than single player would lead you to believe. As in single player mode, killing agents is relatively easy, considering, you know, Tunneler is very overpowered. So, like, if you play Tunneler in single player, then that's a very easy way to get all the Andre Toulon journals, like the journal pages. And in multiplayer, the damage is, you know, decreased a bit, as well as certain other things as well. So this would lead to a much more fair game. As multiplayer is the preferred way to play, I'd recommend getting at least, like, 3 other friends in and having a blast. Although, you might want to wait a bit, as there is going to be more I explain later on. Even though Puppet Master lore isn't exactly the easiest thing to understand, there's like a lot of Nazism, a lot of strange lore going on in certain movies that aren't canon, certain movies that are canon, and it's a whole mess. I can say that the game is fun. And it's not exactly perfect. Like I said, charging jumps isn't exactly fun. But Puppet Master the game definitely captures the spirit. No pun intended, due to, hopefully that wasn't a pun, of the original Puppet Master movies. And, you know, compared to other doll horror movies, he's like the Chucky series, Annabelle, or the obscure movie Dolly Dearest, which I saw as a kid, so now you must know about too, as Means to Suffer. They don't really have any games. In fact, Chucky was going to get a game on Xbox 360, but that got cancelled due to licensing issues. And the only game that I could physically see being part of the killer doll genre is Five Nights at Freddy's. And even then, that statement's a stretch. But I think you can see where I'm coming from, though. As the idea of a killer doll genre is like things meant for kids coming to life and doing some terrible stuff, right? And what's funny is, while that's the only game I could physically see being in the killer doll genre, even though it's a stretch, Puppet Master is an actual killer doll game. Thus meaning it's much more, you know, likely to be seen as part of its killer doll contemporaries. Now, like I said, the game isn't perfect. And in fact, like I said, the best way to play is in multiplayer, with 3 other friends. The game is free, so anyone can play, assuming they have a decent enough computer, and everyone can relatively play in a simple yet fun evening. One person compared it to Dead by Daylight in a negative review, and I haven't played it, but when playing with my good friend, who is named Quotient, by the way, go follow them on Twitter, or IQ Wii Sports, I think. I'll put them in the description. They said that Puppet Master, the game, was better than Dead by Daylight, so I'd recommend it if you are looking for a game akin to Dead by Daylight, but without too much similarity. Like, the game, like I said, I haven't played Dead by Daylight, so I don't know how much it actually compares to Dead by Daylight, but you get the idea. Now, the game itself, I'd say, isn't the best. Like I said, the best way to play is multiplayer, and the servers tend to be dead most of the time. But it is a good little game. In fact, I'm pretty sure someone could probably make a Vanoss Gaming style video if they were to get their friends together in one little server. Now then, what about the devs? Are they working on anything for this game? Actually, yeah. The game's currently in open beta right now, just so then they can iron out some bugs and stuff that players report. And as the game stands right now, as a free-to-play purchase as a free-to-play game, with the only purchasable items being taunts and certain skins, it's relatively akin to Team Fortress 2. Where it's... Actually, no, wait. I think I have a better analogy. It has the free-to-play things like TF2, and the gameplay style of Left 4 Dead, but specifically that infection game mode. And overall, I say the game is relatively good. Like I said, and you'll love the game if you play it. You don't even have to watch any movies. But they are working on certain things. There is a roadmap made by the people who made the game on Steam. Basically saying they're adding a new human, they're adding a new puppet called the Capitron actually around this month, actually. Well, actually, probably, yeah, this month. Around June or July. They'll be adding a new maps, a new puppet, as well as 8-player or multiplayer. It also will leave open X. It would also leave what's it called? It'd also leave early access soon, so I'd recommend hopping on the bandwagon soon. It's clear the devs do really show a love for this series, as even the skins are references to the toys that were made by Full Moon to help get the series out. And I'd recommend actually playing the game. As long as you have a computer that is... You don't even have to have a good computer. My laptop uses an i3, and the game runs relatively smoothly. I don't exactly know the FPS. I mean, the human eye can only perceive up to 24 frames per second. But the game is amazing. I'd give this game an 8.5 out of 10 if I were an actual critic. While the movement is a bit iffy at times, you can tell there's a passion in this game that certain indie studios might not have. While the main genre of horror nowadays is kid-safe and relatively simple, I mean, FNAF kind of started it, and then next thing you know, there's Poppy Playtime, Bendy and the Ink Machine, and all this stuff, right? But the main crux of this game is it's a bit more mature, so the even edgier kids who want to play might get a kick out of it, especially because it's killer dolls. Kids love creepy stuff, so of course that's gonna sell, and it's going to be a bit more mature than those games, so you're gonna have a little bit of an older audience compared to the contemporaries of the safe horror genre, as I like to call it. It might be called kid horror. It's generally anything that is made for young kids is a seller. But as Puppet Master is a older franchise, and thus likely more to gain an older audience, releasing the game for free with only paid DLC for like skins and stuff is a pretty fair trade. And it's a fair trade-off. Now, if you do like to play the game, like I said, it's on Steam for free, and I'd recommend playing sooner rather than later, especially in multiplayer with some of your friends. Now, that was enough time from me. I'm your host, Chocolate Switch YT, and let's just say I might be making more game reviews in the future, with my stuttery voice and all that. So if you do want to stick around for a bit and maybe enjoy some of my older content, and feel free to subscribe, hit the like button, do all that fun stuff. And I'd recommend you please play this game, man. It's so good. And I'll see you next month, probably on a Friday, as per usual. And y'all have a good rest of the month. I'll be seeing y'all maybe on the flip side, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Alright, bye.